Hello and good day to you. Today's video, we are designing the use of solid yarns or colored yarns or self-patterning yarns in making a border in our Stockinet technique of 12 crafts of machine knitting. Sorry about my glasses. The lighting is heavy here, so I have to protect my eyes. For this project, we'll need a charting software. I'm using DesignAKnit. If you already have a pattern, a cardigan pattern, you can use that. And because I'm using a charting software which requires a computer, we'll need a computer. For this, and the knitting machine we'll be using is the LK150 extended bed. So making it a needle of 250 needles. That's because of the design that we'll be doing. So I just put up the design and talk through it before we start designing. So we'll be knitting the stripe border, and that requires, and it's for an adult, a female. It requires me turning it on the knitting machine and knitting it to make it horizontal. I'll knit it on the vertical, so I'll need to rotate the pattern in the garment and then knit it in on the horizontal, on the vertical. Sorry. If you don't have an extended bed or your knitting machine have lesser needles, you can go for the two colored border. You can go for the multicolored yarn or self-patterning yarn border, or you can use, if you have more yarns in the same color, then you can go for the one color border. The effect, the design will still be pronounced. For those that don't have the pattern will be put on the blog. First, I will put the stripe border pattern, the vertical stripe border pattern. Then I'll put one for one of these, because all you need to do for this is to change the yarn. That's to enable us to still practice it even if we don't have a large needle bed. What we need for the knitting part will be discussed when we are knitting or demonstrating the knitting on the knitting machine. We'll tell you what you need to start knitting the garment. I'm using version 8 of the software, and I'm using the complete version. So I'll move from one part of the garment, from the standard garment styling into the original pattern drafting, into stitch designer, original pattern drafting, and interactive knitting. So just click on standard garment styling. We'll say new garment. The wearer is an adult. The gender is female. The garment type is cardigan. Sleeve setting, front neck round, back neck I'll just leave straight, or I can do it round. I'll leave it on straight, and then I'll click on OK. Select knitting method. Because it's the complete version, we have the hand knitting part of it and we have the machine knitting part of it. So since I'm using machine knitting, click on machine knitting and click OK. If you don't have this extended bed listed here, click on Silver Reed LK150. Click on Setup, click on Copy Machine. It has duplicated it, and then you click OK. So now we have a duplicate. Click on Setup, activate the duplicate, click on Setup, click on advanced, click on advanced, and here you can duplicate it. So I'll just duplicate this to 350 in the maximum stitches. You just duplicate it to 350 and you click OK, and then click OK here. So now we have the silver one, LK150. The copy of it will say it's now 350. We can also edit it by going back to click setup, go to advanced, and we can rename it here. So I'm just going to say LK150 in 350. Then you can click OK, and then OK, and you know that this is the knitting machine that you want. So when you have selected the knitting machine, you click on OK. Here you have to input the stitches in centimeters and in rows. That's the gauge, the tension, main tension. So mine is 17 by 16. And I'll do same for the welt, although I'm not doing cuffs and welts because we are working with plain stockinet stitch, and I don't want to go into ribbing. And also we'll discuss those techniques. When we are working on those techniques, we do demonstrate those techniques. I want it to be this design to be silk-like. I don't want it to be like a cardigan. Though it's we are using a cardigan template, I don't want it to be in a cardigan. I want it to have a tailoring effect. You have to knit it on the knitting machine, but just the tailoring effect of it without having to knit a rib at the bottom of it to give that cardigan effect. No, I don't want that. So we're going to say tension. I'm going to say tension 3 LK150, and you can talk about the yarn you're using. I'll just put 100% acrylic. If you want to put a brand, you can put a brand. So for this, I'm using 2 brands here. I'm using Robin Double Knit by Thomas B. Ramsey. This is done in the UK. And the second brand I'm using is Aldi. Aldi. Is it So Crafty? I think that's the name. I will edit it if it's not, if I didn't spell it right. So Crafty Double Knit Yarn. So just put the DK. Okay, I can spell it out since and you click OK. I'm making it classic because I want it to fit. So I'll click OK. Standard size. I'll go for the bust is 97 centimeters. For the chest, the waist is 77 and the hip is 102. Well, if you are using different size, you can just move down, select the size you want, and you click OK. Perhaps you selected the wrong size. You can come back and alter it before you go and edit it in original pattern drafting. So we'll click on OK. Nape to garment length this is in centimeters. So I want to work in inches. I'm just going to click on OK and leave it. Then I'll go to option, unit of measurement, and come to inches. Tension per inch. Select it and then you click on OK. Click into on the icon on the left. There's a figure, human figure with a tape measure, which also looks like a knitting machine, but it's a tape measure. You click into it and you come back to the body measurement where you can alter. And as you click into each body measurement, if you look at the icon at the bottom on the left, bottom left, it indicates what you need to measure, how you need to measure it, and so that you have the infographic is there, and so you know what to do So we're coming to the nape to garment length. We'll make, because of it's only one side that we need that asymmetrical design. It's only one side that we need this asymmetrical design. The back and the front is that left. The front left is going to be the same size. So this is the other side, the other part. The stripe part is what we're going to alter in the knitting machine. So because of that, I've measured, I'll just make the jacket 28 so that it measures. Then we'll alter the other part in original pattern drafting. But if you don't have original pattern drafting, you can make that alteration by just adding maybe some centimeters or something to it. Just measure and know how many rows that you're going to knit to give that asymmetrical effect. I'm going to leave everything as is, including the ease. I'll just leave it because we're going to sew on the sewing machine. So I'll just leave those ease, leave everything as it is. And then when I'm happy, as I'm happy with it, I'm going to click OK. The design, if you see, notice it's in the middle. It's symmetrical. It's in the middle. I don't want that. Since I'm making an asymmetrical design in length, you can also use this by just making one side long. I don't like it. I want it to come from the corner. One side should go off the corner. I just want to be a little bit dramatic. So you come to this first, styling for the garment body. Click into it. We don't want to welt, so I'm going to put welt 0. Body blousing. No body blousing. Body blousing is when it skates out, it flare out. As we don't want that. We want a straight bodies. So body straight, no, we leave that. Overlap, we're talking about the overlap of the band. So for the band, this is where we have to work. I'll just play around with the figures to see what they can give me. I'll play with 10 first because I want, so 10 is all right. I like it. It's not like a chef's uniform. That's fine. That's the effect I'm trying to get. So I'll just click on apply and I'll click on OK. Now it's going to come now through the corner, by the corners here. I'm going to have it on the corners here. So the next icon will go for the styling for the garment, the one with the vest round neck, styling for the neck. So remember, my unit of measurement is now in inches. So I'll make it 1.3 inches. Oh, that's fine. That's all right. That's nice. The neck width, I'll leave it like so. Neck depth, I'm going to make it a bit closer. So I'll make it 2 inches and see. You've already had your measurements, but if you've not had your measurements, you can just first of all just design it and then go back and so I'll make it 2 so that it's not that choking. So I'll click OK. If you are happy with it, you click apply and you click OK. If you have it in centimeters, you can still go into I move from inches to, because some I have them already offhand in inches and some I have the measurements already in centimeters. So you can, there's no loss in, you can flip between units of measurements. I do them because that's how I can remember some of the measurements. So here, if we say, let's go back to the say option unit of measurement, we're back into centimeter. And if we take it not this for the next styling, it's set 3.3. So I can make it 4 now because I know it in centimeters. And or I can make it 5. Let me make it 5. 5 is going to, yeah, 5 is all right. That's going to be really thick. I want a thick band and I'm going to use a very big, I'm going to use large buttons. So you can click apply. I'll click OK. If I don't like the size, I'm going to reduce it. So I'm going to just take my ruler and see how 5 that's going to be too big. I just held my ruler now and it's going to be too big, so I'll go for 4. 4 is quite good, so I'll go for 4 and click on apply. Neck width, I'll leave it at that. Neck depth is about 5. That's fine. I'll click on apply. I don't want it choking, so I'll click on apply and I'll click on OK. Then for the sleeve, the cuffs, we don't need the cuffs. As I said, I don't want any cardigan like effect or anything, so I'm going to take those off and I'm going to put 0 in there. So you can see the design on the right hand. There's an icon here. There's a pop-up window with a sleeve, and it's telling you, once you click the cursor on it, it tells what you are measuring. So we want that, and you click on apply when you finish and you click on OK. So here's our beautiful garments. This is what you are going to knit. You can just leave this, and when you are knitting it, you can increase the size for only the part you want to extend. Then the other part can just be normal. So you click on File, we'll click on Save As or Save. So I click on File, Save As. I have to make a new folder for this, so I'm going to create a new folder so that I don't start searching for files. I'm going to call it 12 crafts of machine knitting. And I'll tell it it's the border, Stockinet border. Oh, I'm supposed to make another file for Stockinet, but I just put it Stockinet. I'll move it later. So Stockinet border. Yeah, that helps it a little. So click on save. If there's any information you need to change, like I just remembered one, I'll go back in there. Like you go to option tension. I want to input that the pattern, not about the shapefile, that I'm knitting it in Stockinet. So that next time I'm printing out, I'll know that I'm knitting the design in Stockinet. You know, sometimes you print a design, you can't remember what stitch pattern is being used. So that's why it's important to put that in. So I'll go back and say File, Save. We have our work saved now. If you want to print this and just use it like so, you can go to print out. Then you can print the text summary, you can print the garment text. So I'll just take the back and say garment text, and then you click on preview. You decide if it's a knitting machine or the hand knitting part you want, and what side, whether the wrong side will be facing. I want the wrong side to, do I want the wrong side to face? No, I think I want the right side to face. The right side will be inside, sorry. wrong side facing, you tick. Then you click OK. Then you can see you can follow this and you knit. You also have to get the band. You will need to still click in, because the band is not in original pattern drafting, so you need to come in here to print for the band. So go to text summary, and then let me go through a shorter one. Okay, we'll go to text summary, click on text summary and click on next, then preview, and you have the band here, the stitches you need for the band. This what you need for knitting the buttonholes and its band, and also the neck, what to pick, the numbers of stitches to pick, and the rows of welt. But it's not a, we are going to do like a mockery, but going to knit it twice and fold, because I love the welt of my cardigan very thick. it prevents it being very weakened, especially due to washing. So I prefer doing folding it and make it doubling it. So because of that, you have to take note of it. Instead of knitting 15 rows of welt, you will now have to knit, if you are doing the mock rib style, you will need to knit 30 rows of welt. But it's not going to tell you that except you go and except you have gone to extend it, so that it tells you that. So you have to take note of that. So click work. So let's save our work. We have to save before we just click on file, save, to save our work. So we need to go into the other part of the software, or go into original pattern drafting. Would have gone straight into Stitch Designer, but we need to go into original pattern drafting and know the numbers of rows that we will need, and then we can calculate, go to Stitch Designer, fill it, and come back into original pattern drafting and fill our design. So we'll go to click on the next icon, this icon that has grids with it's a shaping file. So just click on it, and here we have our garment. If you click on any one, to highlight them, it turns white, and you will see in the above it tells you if it's the front right or in the front left. So the one we need to alter, we need to activate it. I want it to be on my right, so I'm going to click activate it, which is the front right. Then at the bottom, you see some icons here, and this icon we have for different kind of measurement, and this rectangle here that has an arrow going up and down. It measures, if you put your cursor over it, it says fit to length. So you want it to fit to length. Then this is to fit to width. We just want to extend. Let me centralize it. So just click on the icon above, the zoom icon above, and there's one that says to centralize the piece. So here we have it. I'm just going to go off it again, and we want to extend just the bottom. So to extend it, if you just click on it and tell it to measure, if you take this icon fit to length and tell it to measure it, and you add you tell it to measure. Before then, we have to take our measurement back to unit of measurements, back to inches, because I'm using inches. I have the measurement in different settings, sorry about that. The fit to length, if you click on it and tell it to fit to 33, let me say I want it to be 33, and I click OK, it's going to extend it in both ways. If you put it, you see it has extended it. Let's put it close to this our front, and you see that it has extended it to, it has added it, and it's now 33. If you want to check, you can click on the ruler, sorry, you can click on the tape measure, it's in inches. You can click on the tape measure and then put it on 0, and you will see you'll see the measurement is on 33. So you make sure it fits, you make sure there's no alteration, you match it with the other side to make sure it fits. And when you are happy with it, you just click on your tape measure. So that's our garment. We've already increased in size. Alternatively, there are sometimes you will increase that, it will alter on this side and the other side. So what you do if you encounter that, so that you don't struggle, you just come in, go to this plus icon here, click on it, and then you can add nodes. You can just drag the nodes and make sure you have then you can use a tape measure to measure it till it forms. Then you click on the subtract tool to alter it. Then if you have done that, you just added some note, you can come to piece, you can come to table and make sure 7 and 8 lines properly. So if you come there, we say 7 it's on 0, then we'll say 8 should be on 0, and you notice that 8 lines properly, and I'll click on apply so you see it in lines. Then 9 and 10 should match. So if 10 is on 14.0, then 9 should be on 14. And then we can say apply, and you see it lines properly. But 9 and 8 is not matching. That's why it's altering, because 8 is saying on the y-axis saying minus 3.3, and 9 is saying minus 4.3. It has to be a straight line because it's an asymmetrical. But if you want it to tilt, there's no then you can leave it like that and tilt it the way you want to tilt it. So for that, since I don't want that, I'm just going to click on edit. Sorry, I didn't apply it. That's why I only applied it in there, and I didn't click OK that you apply it, because I want to remove it. We've already. So you can go through that process. You can. I'm just going to undo the ones I've done. Okay. So we have our garment here, and don't forget to uncheck the. That's by clicking to the plus sign or minus sign to deactivate it. So here we have our garment. But to knit it, we are going to knit on the. We're going to rotate it on the horizontal. So we are going to rotate this full garment horizontal. Everything knitted on the horizontal. Why I'm knitting in the horizontal is because of the design that we are knitting. And that is this stripe, and that is this stripe border. So we have to rotate it on 90. We need to knit all of them on the horizontal so that they match. If you're knitting on the, we have to rotate them on the, but if you are using single yarn, then you can just knit without rotating. If you are using a single colored yarn, you can just knit. But if you are doing stripe, like the stripe border, you have to knit all the patterns. For them to match, you have to knit with the same technique you've knitted. You want your rows and the stitches to match properly. So for that, I'm just going to activate one after the other, and we can rotate them. But if you want one on the horizontal and one, then you can go to piece. You can duplicate the piece. We can say asymmetrical. I'll just put border 1, and it can duplicate them so that you have different patterns on each and every one of them. You can have, instead of going back to design one or rotate, you have one in it, and you can now play with that one. And you can go to say rotate this piece, and the rotate, we're going to depend on how you want it to rotate and side you prefer knitting. You prefer it, I'll put it on angle 90. This is how we are going to knit each part of it. You can go on the other side. You can rotate clockwise and anti-clockwise. It's optional. So if we rotate anti-clockwise, it's going to be on 180, and this is how you're going to start knitting from. So you can decide where to start from, where to. Perhaps it's easier for you decreasing from the left hand side or from the right. You can decide it by the way you rotate it. So we've done that, and I'm going to activate this and just move it to its partner here. I can still, we can rename the piece. So to make it match, I'm going to say front right and see if it can. It can't this thing. Okay, so I'm going to say, I'm going to rename it and say front right rotate. Front right rotate 1. I'm just trying to, I don't know. Okay, I'll leave it like that. So I'll just call it like this: front right rotate 1. Then if you want to rotate the others, you can. So now in my pattern, I can have both the plain and the, so I'm going to duplicate this piece and we're going to rotate it the same way, and I'm going to say front left. That's a front left. Okay, front left rotate. I'll bring it in here and then we can rotate. I can say 90 and we can have them rotating on the same angle. But if you notice, because I rotated to the other side, it's coming out from the other. You don't want that. You want it to rotate on all sides. So I'm going to make sure it rotates. I use the same part of rotation. You can also flip if you want to. You can also flip, but remember that it has to mirror and they have to match properly. But for this, you don't really need, because it's a plain yarn, there's no problem here. It is when you are knitting this and the sleeve, it's matching sleeve, like this part, that you need to match it properly. So you need to match it properly. So for the back, I'm going to duplicate that back piece. Since I said I'm going to do different patterns, so it's necessary for me to duplicate back rotate. So I'm going to put it and tell it to rotate to 90 degree. And the sleeve, that's the sleeve right. Rotate, and I'm going to tell it to rotate to 90 degrees. So this, sorry, this sleeve is for this. This is sleeve right? So this is sleeve right. I'll need it to match, so I'm going to tell it to rotate to 180. Yes, so that it matches properly. And this other one, I'm going to paste and say duplicate and tell it to rotate. You can just put it side by side so that you know this is sleeve left, rotate. And I'm going to tell it to rotate to 90 degrees. So to make sure you don't, in case you don't, you think you're making a mistake, if you put it side by side, like the pattern side by side, you will know where each one's supposed to go. Now this is how the sleeve is going to go here, and this is how the sleeve is going to go here. This is for the right and this is for the left. So we'll just put them together and you will know, by the time you put them, you rotate them and you put them side by side, you will know which rotation you have to go through. So I'm going to click File. You can say Save As or you can say Save. It's optional. So I'll click it on Save. But this, though, something you need to note is that when you open this in standard garment styling, it's not all this rotating effect and extending the size of the garment. to make the asymmetrical design, it's not going to appear in standard garment styling. Standard garment styling is going to just be what you have done in standard garment styling. Only when you are opening original pattern drafting that you will see all this alteration that we have done. So you can, that's why you can save it differently, or you can save it as the same. So I'll just save it as the same, so that whenever I open it in each one, it's still the same. So I'll just tell it to save. So I'll just give it a try first, so that you see. I'll go back to original pattern standard garment styling, and yes, the warning. Say warning: original pattern drafting has been done for the above pieces. If you proceed, these changes will be lost. So if I say okay, I'll come back to the original design. But if I go back to original pattern drafting, I will have my design in there. Next, after this, the next part you need to go is the interactive knitting. So in the interactive knitting, we'll see the 12. Here it is, our design. So click on OK, and we'll click on the front right rotate. I'll click on OK. What you need for that, because this is the one we are working on, stripes, the stripe zone, you just need to know not the numbers of needles, but the rows to knit. We are going to knit 133 rows, and for that you will need depend on the colors of yarns that you are using, you will need your calculator. So you need to calculate. For this I'm using, I'll just go closer so that you see. So for this I'm using about 6 colored yarns. I'm using a light blue, a mid blue, a light brown, a mid brown, yellow, and a raspberry or pinkish purple. So that's about 6 colors, and depend on how you're going to make them, you're going to rotate them evenly. So we need 133 rows, and for these 133 rows we'll need to, and with 6 colors of yarn, that means we need to knit about 22 or 23 rows of each design. That don't mean you need to knit 22 rows immediately. You can now decide how many times you want this 22 rows. That is the design. You cannot design how many times. Sorry, you can now decide how many times you want a particular yarn to be knitted in 22 rows. So if you say you want it 10, that's 20, then the remaining part, that's where towards the seam of the work, you can reduce the size, because it's finishing also. So you can say you need 10 rows of each design. It's optional. You can go for lesser number. You can split it. It's not compulsory that all designs should be 10. You can make sometimes you can make the blue. You can make the blue, the mid blue, of a higher numbers of rows, and make the light blue of lesser numbers of rows. So it's optional. If you want, depend on how you want it, depend on the effect you're trying to achieve. So you can decide the size, the numbers of rows that you want to knit each garment on. So if I say this one I'm going to knit it in 10, the other one I can say the blue I'm going to knit it in 6, so that I'll I'll have it on an even number. When the carriage, I can make the changes on, that's the yarn change on only one side of the knitting machine, so that I can have all the yarn edges on one side of the knitting machine, in case I decide that I want to use the yarn edge. In case I decide I want to leave the yarn edge to give a rustic feel or an urban feel to it, a countryside feel to it, then that's fine. I've done one before. So here is one that I did. I knitted it on the vertical. I knitted it horizontally, the stripes. I made a vertical stripe I mean vertical stripes, which you need to knit horizontally. And for the, I think I used a standard gauge knitting machine. I think either SK280 or Brother 950i, KH950i, one of them. I think that's what I used. So because it's just a jumper, it I didn't need to extend. I don't want to extend it. All lengths are equal lengths for the bodies of the garments, so we didn't need an extended bed, knitting machine bed. But what I want to show you is the neck of the neck. If you take a look at it, you just see that the strands are just out. You can leave it, you don't need to down the ends if you don't want to. It gives a nice effect, especially because of the different colors of yarn. So it gives that country feel to it. It's really nice. It's really nice. So I use it here for on our A to Z of machine knitting. We're still working on the A to Z of machine knitting. I think I'm on letter H now. So so we need to decide. We have 133 rows. You now have to decide the size that you will need for the numbers of rows that you will need to knit each yarn for. So you need to do same for the other sleeve, and to do that you can go to shape and you can say select piece, so that you don't have to go back into the original pattern drafting. You can select piece. I think the front right. Okay, so the left sleeve is the right sleeve. Okay, and you have 154 rows to knit for the sleeve. So you cannot decide on that, and you will need your calculator for each and every one of them. That's optional. You need your calculator for each and every one of them, or if you want to, you can just move around with the figures and decide on that. So that will take us to, with that we will move into the next segment of the design. We'll go to Stitch Designer. So in Stitch Designer, we'll go to File, just click on Stitch Designer, and the workface and the window of it will open. The work surface will open. You click on File, you click on New Pattern Setup. Here you can set up your pattern. We'll set the size manually. You can just say 20, or you can decide to make it, depend on what you have calculated for your pattern. You can now decide what you want it to be. So for the front right, we've clicked on it and found out that it's 133 rows that we need to knit. We'll get our calculator. We don't need to do that here. So we know that it's 133 rows that we need to knit. Then we'll go to shape, select piece, and we'll take on this coordinating sleeve. It's coordinating sleeve, and we'll click on the arrow to take us to the top of the row, and it says we are going to need 154 rows. We just need that. We just need to know the rows so that we decide how many rows and how many rows each color is going to need. So you click on the stitch designer icon here, and then you go to File, New Pattern Setup. So for this, we're going to in the new stitch pattern size, select set size manually, and we need to set our size manually with our calculator by the side. Just going to move this to one side and bring our calculator in. I've decided that for each color, for each of the medium colors, that's for the medium blue or denim blue, the medium brown or coconut brown, the raspberry purple or pinkish purple, I'm going to use I'm knitting them in 10 rows. Then for the light ones, like the light blue, the light brown, and the yellow, I'm knitting them in 6 rows. And here is one that I've done before. This I can't remember how many rows I knitted this. There's been this that was about last year or so. But for beginners, you can use this as an inspiration. You leave the strands if you want to. It adds a nice effect, and you don't give you the stress of trying to darn in the loose ends of yarn. If you want to, you can also weave the ends. You can weave it. You can weave it as if you are braiding, and you can put I-cord over them. You can do whatever you desire. Some people do like to put beads on it. I don't like that. So you can do whatever. You can even add beads if you want to them. So it's optional. So now let's come back to our pattern. That's just for inspiration. So if 10 rows or 3 sets of yarn, so 10 rows plus 6, that's 16, times 3 sets of yarn, it's going to give me 48. So go on 48. I'm just going to make the stitches 48. Normally the rows we just calculated now is 48, so I'm just going to make it 48. If we need to adjust, we will do that. So I will click OK. So I just made stitches 48 by 48. You can decide that what you want to do. So you click on OK. We are using the same stitch pattern, we are using the same design, but remember it's in inches. That's why it's giving us a lower figure here. It's in inches. We're working in inches. I have been alternating inches and centimeters together. So click on OK. But if you want to, you can come unit of measurement and you can change it to centimeters and see and change it and make sure to see if your tension matches properly. You see it's the same tension. Okay. So now we need to fill in the colors. And to fill in the colors, you can use a graphics tablet with a stylus, or you can just use your mouse, but you have to be careful. You can use the brush and you have the eraser tool. So we just use the pencil tool here and we'll click into the color we want. So the first one that I'm thinking, we can alter the design the way we want to. It's not compulsory. I have to follow the same template. So I want to just put the template. I want to put the template out and see. I just want to see which one I want to go first. So I'll start with a purple, blue next, and brown next. Okay. So if I say I want to start with a purple, I'll take it as a red first. Then we can go in and edit it to the color we want it to be. So select the pencil. I've decided to start with the light blue instead of the purple. So select the light blue. Paint 6 rows of light blue. You can switch to the brush to cover large areas. Select the pencil again. Take a dark blue next, and we'll paint 10 rows. Next is the raspberry, so I'll use a dark red for it. Ten rows. If you want to use the yellow before the raspberry, that's fine, because we have 10 here, and normally we would have gone for a smaller row. Can also change that. And although I'm using a red, we'll alter it in the next phase. So I'll quickly use a brush to fill in. And instead of using an eraser here, I'll just come with a pencil, select the color on that layer, cover it. Next is the yellow, so I'll pick a yellow color, six rows. Not to make mistake, I'm going to take the eraser and erase this error here. And we have the brown. So for the brown, the dark brown or coconut brown, I'm going to use this dark gray here. Or let me use the light gray. So that it's visible for you. Then we'll change it in the next phase. we'll use the light peach, or okay, let's use the light peach for the light brown. And take the pencil, take the light gray, and correct this error here. So here's our design. We have to alter it to fit the exact colors of the wool we're going to use. So to do that, on this yarn plus stitch symbol palette here, we'll click on yarn color setup. It's an icon that has a lot of color palette in it too. It says yarn color setup. So we'll click on that. A window appears. You can say pack so that the colors moves to one side, and you can also say delete unuse. With that, we'll have just the colors that are in our work, and then we can say pack and arrange them up. Change the light peach to and when you are happy with the color, you click on apply, and it will apply it. Then you can see it on your pattern, and you decide if you want to go with that color or not. So I make it a bit pale. Click apply. Until you click apply, it's not going to work. If you close this window now, this color will be there, the others will still remain. So until you click apply, it's not going to apply to the design you are until you click apply, it's not going to apply, the color is not going to be on your work. I think the light blue is alright. So the yellow, we'll leave it like that. The gray, we need it to be brown. So we come so we need it to be a dark brown. I'll click apply, and we have it there. Next is the red. We want it to be raspberry, so we're just going to going to take okay. So here we have our color, and you make sure you click apply, and then you click OK. So we're going to save our work. Click on File, Save As. A window appears, and you're going to save the stitch pattern. Let me see, I think I did one before, so I'm going to take that and just say click on save. So we need to open it in original pattern drafting. Go to File, Integrate, and we're going to tell this other part, the sleeve right, to use we'll find the design here and tell it to use File, Integrate. So we have, if you notice here, we have it in horizontal and we have it in vertical, so you can check your designs. And so I'm just going to leave this one on. Well, this is the one we're supposed to alter, so I'm going to change it to the horizontal, and then you click on OK and you click on this. So we're going to just fill it with that, and this is how you are going to knit it. When you rotate, so that when you rotate on 90, this is how your the design is not going to rotate like that. That's because the pattern is already into as a horizontal pattern. So the way your knitwear is how it's going to fill it on the rows, because we have already rotated our knitwear. So this is how the pattern is, but this is not how it's going to be. So you know how to position, you know the row, you see it the way you are going to knit it. But when you rotate it, it's not going to be like that. So when you rotate it, it's going to be like this when you rotate it, because you've already finished knitting it. So when you use the other one, don't think you are making a mistake, because you have it like this. So the same, I'm just going to centralize the sleeve. So you have the sleeve here. If you want, you can come in after doing this, you end with this. You find out the last stitch here. You can decide on which stitch to use for the, so that it matches properly, and when you line it, it lines properly. So if you take it, you can move it, not that, it undo, not the, you can just drag the crossover and move the stitch pattern to what you want it to be. So if you note the stitch for this, you can use it to, you can adjust this too, so that your knitwear blends properly. So if I put this as the main part, that I want it to start on the pinkish purple or raspberry purple, then we've made sure it is going to be like that. Then this, you need to note the sleeve of this too, so that it matches properly. It won't be as if it's different from it. And when you click on it, the sleeve, we need to match with it. You can also do paper templates on it. You can color it in with paper and put it and see if how it will fit. You can print this out, optional, print screen, and decide and see if when you add it, you put it on the print the screen of the sleeve and print the screen with the pattern feel of the top, just like this, and trim around it and see if when you place them together, if it's going to match properly. Then you can use that as see if you have any alteration to make. Then you know how it's going to be when you finish knitting the garment. You need so that you want the sleeve, like you want the sleeve to match properly, as if it's an extension of the side of the extension of the bodies of the garment. For the sleeves to match properly, we have to remember the sequence of the color and how the sleeves will be stitched. Taking a look at the sequence, we have the pinkish purple, yellow, mid brown, light blue, and mid blue. If we take a look at the sleeve, the only time the color matches is from the side, the bottom side. And if we place it on the sleeve, on the garment, I'll just bring it to the middle, so that I will have to enlarge it a little. If we place it, it's not going to match. If it will only match on the side, the bottom part where the cursor is. But there is a but. That's because we have to put in consideration the stitch pattern, the stitch design. For the stitch pattern, Stockinet, the knit side is used as the right side, while the purl side is the wrong side. If we have to place if this is the knit side, means that this upper part where the cursor is going to match with this armhole here. The armhole of the sleeve is going to match with the armhole here. And in lining the stripe, we use the trick of the armhole. If you have to line any stripe, be it horizontal or vertical, if you have to line any stripe using the horizontal or the vertical, use the armhole and your stripe will line properly. Line it with the armhole, match the armhole, then you can decide how many, then line the armhole, and with that you will decide and the stripe will match. Then you will know the rows to knit and the rows remaining to knit even if the stripe is horizontal. The matching point for stripe to make your stripe match properly is the armhole. So if we place this close, you find out that the sequence is different, the color sequence is different. So to make sure it match, even if we move the pattern to match, it's not going to match. That's because after the first color, even if we move it, it's not going to match. That's because after the first color, the next color on the sleeve is a blue. The next color on this is yellow. On the front right jacket is yellow. So even if I have to move it and say, okay, let me put it on the yellow and see what's next, it will only match, it won't match again, because the first color is the pinkish purple and the first color here is now a yellow. So to make sure it matches properly, and if we have to stitch, even if we have to use the base part of the sleeve, the other side of the sleeve or the other end of the sleeve where the cursor is now, if we have to stitch it to the point of this armhole, it's not going to be proper, because the wrong side of the garment is going to now be the right side. So to make sure it matches properly, we're going to flip the sleeve. Because this is how the sleeve will be sewn. Let me place it so that you see it. And you see the color, there's a sequence. And when we place it, it's not following the same, it's only following the sequence here. By the time we add the wrong we stitch, this knit side is going to be the wrong side and the purl side is not going to be the right side. But that's not what we designed. We want every piece of this garment, on each piece of the garment, the knit side is the right side. So to make sure it matches properly now, we're going to rotate anti-clockwise. No, we're going to rotate clockwise on 180 degree so that it rotates to the right. Click on OK and it rotates, and it's like the left sleeve. When we place it now, it's going to match properly. Even if we have to adjust the stitch, it's still going to match properly. The sequence of the color is going to match. Right side is going to be face to right side when we stitch, and it's going to match properly. So for the left side of for the left sleeve, we're going to do the same. We're going to rotate it anti-clockwise 180. That is because we need to do things properly, rightly, and also for anyone who wants to make the complete striped jacket. So activate the left sleeve, click on the anti-clockwise rotate icon, and the angle is 180. So I'm going to make sure it lines properly. We have blue first here, and we'll make sure we have blue. Because we're going to place it like so, and then it's going to follow. That's not all. We still need to do something. Lest I forget. We have to work on the front sleeve, the front left of the jacket. If you notice, the front left of the jacket and the right side of the jacket, they're measuring the same width. That isn't how it's supposed to be. That's because standard garment styling have a limit to the alteration it can make. So to make sure it matches properly, I'm going to rotate this to 90 degrees. We'll still rotate it back on the 180 before we save our work. I just want to rotate so that we can make the alteration. You can make the alteration like this, but you will understand better when I rotate it to its original position like this. So I'm going to rotate the right side first to go on 90 degree clockwise, and the left side should go on 90 degree anti-clockwise. We'll rotate it back to its to the sideways position, which we are going, or horizontal position, which we are going to knit it. I'm going to just move these ones up so that to make space for this. Okay. So when we design this, the original style of the garment, if you will see that this is the one with when we didn't rotate, we duplicated it and then we rotated them the way we want to knit because of the vertical stripe. So if we place it, when we're designing it, we made it to overlap. And if we leave the width, it's not supposed to be the same if it's overlapping. Because if you know, we even came off the neck side. So that means having a neck here means that original pattern, standard garment styling is creating something like a double-breasted jacket. We don't want that. So to alter it, if it were not an asymmetrical, or if we had made a band in the middle, we wouldn't have encountered this problem. So because we made the band to go off more onto the left side, that's why we are encountering this. So what we need to do, as we've activated it, we need to reduce the size. If you remember very well, it was from this, where the icon is, this edge here, the shoulder, that is where it's we also have we have to have the buttonhole band. So these curves we need to go. To make sure I know the curve that needs to go, I'll first of all measure the just to let you know that they measure the same width before we start making the alteration. Going to click on the width icon here, the fit to width icon, and you notice it says 35.5. that is the width for the left. And I'll activate the right side of the garment and click on it, the width. The measurement is 35.5. That tells you that we can't have the same, because of the style of the garment we are doing, we can't have the same for the width, or we can't have the same width for both. If not, it will be large. The garment, the jacket is going to be larger than, it will be a very large size for the wearer. So we activate the left side of the garment, and then click on this the node icon, the number, so that it numbers the points. And we have, so we are going to start this one where the one is, that is where we want our, that's where we are going to delete up to. So to make it easier for us, because we need to delete nodes, I'll just delete the first node 9 here, activate it, press delete, and it has changed. I'm going to activate it again and press delete until it's on 1. I won't delete this 8. I will move the 8 to line with 1. That is because if I deleted the 8, let me take it just to show you. If I delete the 8, you see it's going to give me I'm not doing a design like this. So I'll go to edit, undo, so that the 8 is back. We need to line 8 and 1 together so that it's very straight, because of our buttonhole band. This is not the style we are doing. If we are doing some slanted style, this would have been nice. So click on the menu icon here, click on piece, click on table, and we're going to try and find how to line it easily. To line it easily, 7 and 8 are on the 0 axis, are on 0. So on the y axis, it's on, both of them are on the same points. So that's on the y axis, they are on 0. We don't need to alter that. That means we need to alter it on the x axis, the 8 on the x axis, and the 8 on the x axis has to match 1. So 1 on the x axis and 8 on the x axis have to be on the same, figure, or the same figure have to be in 8 on the x axis and 1 on the x axis, so that we can have a straight line or straight edge. So on the x axis, 1 is 8.5. So put 8.5 here. You click on apply and you see the change taking place, and you can click, or just click on apply again and OK. So we've resized our garment. Placing it in front is going to be like so. If you remember, the right side is longer. We designed the right side to be longer than the left side, and also we designed it that the width of the left side is smaller than the right side. So the right side is not only longer in height, in width is larger. All we need to do now is rotate back. So I'll rotate it to be on the right side, and make sure we remember how it's been rotated, or we can still match to make sure. So I'm going to rotate it on 180. Sorry, it's going to be clockwise. Activate the left side and click on clockwise to rotate it to 90 degrees, not 180, sorry. Then we have it. You can as well try and match the sleeve to make sure it matches properly. Okay, it matches properly. The sequence matches properly with the sleeve. That means it's on the right side. Then activate the right jacket and rotate it anti-clockwise on 90 degree. Now I'm just going to match the sleeve to make sure it matches properly. So I'm going to remove that point. Just click on the point icon and the numbering will disappear. So just want to make sure it's the right size, and click. After this, to make sure we'll save our work again, so that our alteration will be saved. Click on File and click on Save, and it will save. I'll need the back, the left front and its coordinating sleeve of camera, because it will be like a repeat, and since it is in plain colors. I'll need the front right jacket and its coordinating. I'll need the front right jacket, its coordinating sleeve, the neckband, buttonhole, and assembly or sewing of the garment pieces on camera. While we are waiting for the second part of this video, which is the demonstration or demonstrating the knitwear on the knitting machine, the pattern design of this part will be in a link below, so that you can start knitting the other side of the garments. It will also be on the blog anino.com. Until then, happy crafting, happy designing, and bye for now. Thank you.